Welcome to our guests here, and welcome to our regulars. Welcome to everyone joining us online. I am Sharon Whealy, one of your practitioners here, and I did bring a few props for the altar over here. And I want to say before I start, as I should get out what my notes are, in honor of the new Indiana Jones movie, I started rewatching all the Disney Plus has them. So last week I watched the Ark, of course about the Ark of the Covenant, Jewish tradition, and then last night I watched the Temple of Doom, and I found it really kind of coincidental, amusing, and whatever else words you want to say, that they're worshiping the goddess Kali, who we're going to be talking about this morning. And in their prayers that you couldn't really understand what the heck they were saying, I heard a lot of Shiva in there too. So I think we're right on track. So this month we are celebrating, as the year is Living Out Loud. And this month we're talking about standing in our truth, living our truth, and moving from that personal T to the capital T of the true, that universal truth. And so week one, Reverend Nita talked about Monsters Inc. And I really enjoyed her talk. I was out of town, but I did watch it. And just retouching on some of what I got out of that, for me, we have those monsters that live in our heads, all those talks, those self-talks that just tell us that we're not enough, we're not good enough, we're blah, 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 blah. All of that stuff that is not the truth of our being. And how often I go into arguing with that voice. And I notice for me, a lot of those monsters just generate fear so that I don't do anything. Then we have the monsters in our society. We have some political figures that right now I might classify as monsters. We have the loss of freedoms happening. We have loss of choice. We have equity and access issues. We have the monsters in our world: global warming, wars, famine, not enoughness. So there's a lot going on in our world that we can do battle with. Or, as Alexandra talked about last week, we could just go into numb mode and be hypnotized by the advertising, by the news, whether it's real or fake. Every news has a spin on it. You pretty much have to go out of country to get any quality news about what's happening here. My favorite is Al Jazeera out of Iran. So go make of that what you will. So we're hypnotized. We think we're not good enough, so we go to all those books on our shelves and we get 100 million different ways of how to fix ourselves when there's nothing truly wrong with us. We go in society. One of my defaults is, oh, this is a really big problem. There's nothing I can do about it. Or that's somebody else's job. And you can pretty much say that about any world problems as well. So we have society hypnotizing us into just status quo. This is the way it's always been. It's the way it's going to be. It'll evolve slowly. We just have to hope for the best. And for some people, that's just not good enough. So today, we come to the topic of standing on Shiva. What does that mean? And I brought some little props over here. We have Shiva's statue. We have Kali standing on Shiva. We have Durga. And then we have my favorite little book that I found in a thrift store, which is essentially Hindu gods for kids. Gets it all really simple. But standing on Shiva is both a call to action and a reminder to return to center. So we have a story this morning, and before I get into the story, I wanted to do a little character development because a lot of us aren't all that familiar with Hindu gods, and they're all very complicated, and they all have multiple stories. And so whatever I say today, I can guarantee you there's more and another version somewhere. But I want to start with the Trinity of creation, which is Trimurti in Hindu or Sanskrit. And that starts with Brahma. And Brahma is the creator god. He is the creator of the world and all living things. He has 4 faces so that he can see everything all the time. And you only see in depictions 3, one facing, one forward, one side, because the other one is facing backwards. He doesn't carry any weapons, but he does have a carafe of water, which symbolizes the source of all life. And he is known to be the keeper of the holy Vedas, this holy scriptures, so he's holding books. He also has a lotus flower and prayer beads. And so for me, that symbolizes enlightenment. The second of the Trinity is Vishnu, and he is the sustainer. He's the invisible protector, and he keeps a balance between good and evil. And Vishnu is the one who will come into earth when there's troubled times to kind of set things straight. And he has 10 incarnations, and the most popular, well-known are Krishna, Rama, and in some traditions, Buddha is included in his incarnations. And then finally we have Shiva, who is the god of destruction, transformation, and regeneration. Now, despite all of this destruction, he is actually the meditator of the 3. He's a master yogi, and you can find him meditating at the heights of the Himalaya mountains. He's associated with snakes because they shed their skin, and with deer because they shed their antlers. He's a husband and a father. His wife is Parvati, and she's the second wife, but there's a whole nother story there. She had a lot of proving to do, but she's actually a reincarnation of the first wife, so it's all okay. And then their kids are Ganesha, the elephant-headed god, and Kartikeya. I always get his name wrong. He's known as the cosmic dancer, thus he's in the wheel, and he carries a drum. They say that when the music stops and he stops dancing, the world will come to an end. He carries a trident, and the 3 prongs of that trident represent creation, protection, and destruction. The other character in our story is the goddess Durga, and she was created to defeat a demon that no man could kill. That was the demon's special power, that no male god, human, could kill this particular demon. So they created a goddess. They created a woman to do a man's work. The word Durga means invincible in Sanskrit. She's an avatar of Parvati, so she's a descendant, and so thus she's Shiva's wife as well. Her 2 feet come from Brahma, so she's grounded in the creation of the world. She generally has 6 arms, which come from Vishnu, although some traditions have her having 10 arms, because each of the gods gave her a weapon to fight this monster. But in her 6 arms, she holds a sword, bows and arrows, a trident, and a disc that she can throw. That's also, a disc is another word, it is chakras. So we have chakras within our system. She's holding a disc that is a weapon. She also holds a lotus flower, which is a representation of the grounding into the mud and the flower into the heavens, so that there's a connection, a divine connection that she holds. And her 6th arm is in blessing. So she is always blessing her devotees. Her face, the 3rd god, reflects the light of Shiva. So her light, her being comes from Shiva. She rides a tiger, or sometimes a lion, into battle. And she's a protector goddess who battles to protect the suffering, to solve injustice, bringing kindness and beauty and harmony to the world. So our story this morning is the demon Rakthabija. Now his gift, I don't know what these gods are thinking when they give out gifts, right? His gift is whenever a drop of his blood hits the earth, a new Rakthabija is born. So just like the 2-headed monster in Hogwarts, in case you didn't notice where we were this morning, just like those beasts, when you chop off a head, to grow in its place. When you cut Raktajiva, his blood creates more demons. So Durga, with her sword, comes out, first cut, new monster, another cut, new monster, until she's got a whole army of Raktajivas that she is fighting, and she is just getting madder and madder and more furious till she is in a rage. And in this rage, Kali shoots out of her forehead. Now, Kali is generally depicted with 4 arms. And being an offshoot of Durga, she can have up to 10. She has a sickle, which is generally a harvesting tool, and a sword. She carries a cup to catch the blood, to prevent it from hitting the ground. And then she also carried a severed head, which we'll talk about more later. And she wears a necklace of skulls and a human belt of arms. And essentially, other than that, she's a naked goddess. Comes in handy in the imagery later. So Kali jumps into battle with Raktabija, and she starts slaying the duplicates. Now, she also has a third eye. And I think maybe this third eye helps her to see, these are all the duplicates. Let's get all of the duplicates out of the way until and she's going around catching all the blood of the duplicates. And she's drinking all this blood. And she's killing, and she's drinking blood, and she's killing, and she's drinking blood. And she gets to the original, and she kills him and eats him in one giant gulp. And then she keeps killing. She just keeps killing anything that's around her, and the gods are starting to freak out. Okay, the job's done. How do we stop her? Well, they call on Shiva, and he goes out. Now, probably only the front row can see this, but so Shiva goes out onto the battlefield and lays down in the middle of the battlefield. And as Kali is running around, killing, she steps on him. And in the stepping in on him, she notices, and she is immediately brought back to center. She is immediately brought back to truth. Now, we often think Kali is also depicted with her tongue sticking out. And quite often that's interpreted as just her bloodlust. But really, in Hindu tradition, sticking out one's tongue is a signal of embarrassment. It's a signal of humility. And so as she steps on her husband, realizing that she has just gone whack out of control, she finds her center and she's embarrassed. She centers. Now, Kali is often thought of the goddess of death, and that's actually Yama's job. The god Yama is judgment and death. She is the goddess of time. Kali is thought to end our illusions and free us from the cycle of karma by bringing liberation from our bodies, which is called moksha in Sanskrit. She's responsible for making sure all things die in order for the cycle of life to continue. Now, the severed head that she holds is thought to represent the death of the ego. So our ego has to be smashed, our ego has to be killed in order to achieve this state of liberation. The skulls on her necklace, there's 108 of them, which are the number of letters in the Sanskrit alphabet. And so she's also known as the mother of language and mantras. It's the number of mala beads in a prayer necklace as well. And so she gets kind of that inheritance, that groundedness from Shiva. I just see a lot of meditation in all of this. Her long and wild hair and her nakedness align her with nature and its cycles. So what does all this mean for us today? So just as Durga and then Kali were called into action to slay the demons troubling their world, we are being called into action to slay the demons in our time. And in response to that call, do we start multiplying the problem? Do we start catastrophizing it? Just like Raktabija's blood, do we multiply the problem, creating more and more monsters, maybe just only in our heads? I was thinking, the broken shoelace. The big problems I can turn over to Spirit. I know Spirit's got the big problems, I can rest in that. But, I broke a dang shoelace. And I was thinking, okay, we live in the desert and we're all hiking in the desert. And and my mom hated what if questions when we were kids. What if my shoelace breaks? What if my shoe comes untied and I'm tying it in the middle of the desert and my shoelace breaks? And what if my shoe gets floppy and falls off? And then what if a snake comes along and bites me? And then what if there's nobody to help me? And then what if I die? Right? Isn't that always the ultimate? And so now I'm not leaving my house because I've imagined a broken shoelace. Or do we go numb to the problem? If I don't pay attention to it, maybe it'll go away. It's somebody else's job. I'll let them handle it. Or do we go to war with the conditions, getting lost in the battle and forgetting our real purpose? Kind of like a bull in a china shop with indiscriminate destruction, or a chicken with their head cut off, just randomly running willy-nilly. Now, one of the things that I always like to remember is a time when I was still living in Bakersfield, and I came over to visit my sister for New Year's. And we went out on New Year's Eve, and she tripped and fell and hit her head. We still went out, had a great time, but the next day she wasn't feeling so well. So we ended up spending the day in bed watching movies. She would show me a movie that she loved. I would show her a movie. And so we took turns watching movies all day. And at some point in the afternoon, I'm like, this isn't what I came to Phoenix for. I want to go explore. I want to go have fun. I wanna. And I started spinning myself into this rage. I was really getting pissed, sitting here watching movies with my sister, until I returned to truth. What was it that I came to Phoenix to do? I came to Phoenix to spend time with my sister. And that's exactly what I was doing. Running around town isn't spending quality time as spending a day showing each other our favorite movies. So standing on Shiva reminds us to always return to the truth. Like Durga and Kali, we can go into battle with love and compassion in our hearts. Both goddesses protect their devotees as mothers protecting their children, with overwhelming love in their hearts. Now, in the material that CSL provides us, they have this little sentence. Evil is live, spelled backwards, reminding us there's no real evil in the world. And so when we're facing something that appears to be evil, we rely on our principles. We turn to Shiva. We turn to our spiritual principles, including oneness, that everything going on here is happening in spirit. And so ultimately, it's all good. We return to love, that is the unifying force, that everything is based in love. We rely on that principle of create and destroy. The Trinity is create, sustain, destroy, to create again. There is this holy cycle in that. And that we are spiritual beings. This human meat suit is just a temporary condition. It is a vehicle to experience spirit. And ultimately the healing, which is wholeness, as we release that no longer serves us. And we do that through our spiritual practices. We meditate to find our center, to try. Never try, do or do not, right? In meditation, our goal is to just quiet the mind. Maybe we'll never get to that, perfect holy silence. I don't know what that is. And the couple times I've achieved it, I go, oh, it's quiet in here. And there it goes, right? We rely here on spiritual mind treatment, that 5-step process. God is all there is. I am one with that. This is the truth of my being. I am grateful to know this. And I let it go to let the universe manifest for me. We rely on self-awareness, where we become aware of what's going on. We become aware of, oh, I've lost it. I've lost my space. I am now running around randomly killing. I stand in Shiva. I return to my center. We have the tool of visioning, where we seek, we go quiet, we go within. We seek Spirit's highest and best good for any situation. We can work with a practitioner or a life coach or a minister that can help us to remember the truth of who we are when we just can't find it. Now, when I was with the Berkeley Psychic Institute in Northern California, in the basic meditation class, they teach a tool, spiritual tool called a truth or lie rose. And this is one of my favorite tools when I'm in the midst of something. What I discovered, the truth or lie rose is basically to help you detect when somebody's lying to you, right? That's the premise. What I found at the time, I was going out with my soulmate guy, and he and I would have like these debates, full-on debates about, universe topics of, God and life and death. And he would come from this place of such certainty that I thought what I thought was wrong. And we'd have these endless debates. And the greatest gift of the truth or lie rose was I saw his truth as his truth. And I saw my truth as my truth. And it allows me to disengage from the argument. It allows me to honor your truth. Now, these are small t truths, because for me, my truth then is not my truth today. It has continued to evolve. But it allows me to get out of battle and honor your truth. So just to throw some Ernest Holmes in, I'm going to read from this book every single morning since, I think, 2012. It's starting to fall apart a little bit. It's definitely ragged. And I'm going to read the little essay and affirmation, I let go of every discord. And that's not the one. No, that's not it. There is that within us which is completely conscious of its unity with good, of its oneness with all the power there is, and all the presence there is, and all the life there is. Upon this power, presence, and life, we should depend with implicit certainty, with complete confidence, and with absolute assurance. We need to know that as we accept its action, it has the power to overcome every discord in our experience and wipe out every sense of fear or confusion. As we affirm and believe that nothing can oppose the action of God and come to accept that action in our life, everything unlike its good is overcome. And so the affirmation that goes with that is, I now permit the spirit within me to express itself in freedom, bringing increased joy and harmony into my experience. I allow the divine wholeness to flow through me into ever-widening fields of activity, bringing peace where there was confusion, joy where there was discord. Order, the law of God, reigns supreme in my life. I silence my turbulent thoughts and direct my attention to the acceptance of God's perfect action in my experience. As I do so, all power is delivered to me, and this I use for my own and everyone's good. And so as we get caught in the demons of our mind, our society, and our world, we practice not getting caught up in the frenzy, panic, fear, and outrage that keeps us frozen or randomly killing everything in sight. We practice moving into the truth of the situation by using our spiritual tools, finding our center within the storm. We practice taking action, whether that's writing a letter, volunteering, protesting, or prayer from a place of love and compassion. We rest in the knowing that there is nothing big or small in spirit. Sometimes I want to do these grand gestures that will move mountains. And yet I'm often reminded of the simple power of prayer. And yes, even as a practitioner, I have to be reminded of the exponential power of two or more gathered in spirit can change the world. And so with that, if you'd like to join me as I go into prayer by closing your eyes, taking a deep breath. Knowing that there is only one love, one divine universal spirit, one life, one expression of good. I know that this one is the very life breath of each of us here this morning, of each of us living this life on this planet, of everything, every being, conceived or unknown. I know that it is all of it. There is nothing outside of it. It is perfect, whole, and complete. For there can be nothing outside of the one. And so I know that each of us is breathing this divine breath, that we are all each perfect, beautiful expressions of this one love, one life, that each of us is walking our unique path of self-discovery, growing into the truth of our being, knowing that we are infinitely creative, infinitely powerful. And so together, as individuals, as a collective, I know that we can change the world. As together we lift up our ideas, our passions, our love, as we open our hearts, as we open our minds to new ideas, new concepts, as we love our neighbors, as we love our enemies. For that's what Jesus said, the hardest thing to do is to love thy enemy, and yet those people too are part of God. And so in standing in our truth and our light, we allow others to stand in their truth and their light, brightening the world. And so in this collective, I know that no problem can't be solved. For every problem is but an opportunity for growth and self-discovery and newness and a new way of doing things. And so I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this opportunity to be here today, to participate in this change. As I change, as we change the world. I am grateful. Grateful for everyone who says yes. So it's from this place of gratitude that I know that Spirit is working for its highest good. It can only evolve into better. And so I let this word go, knowing it is already made manifest, and we step into it joyfully by saying, and so it is. Band.